Okay, so
I got goodies for everybody too. It's kind of weird flavors today, but I got chocolate strawberry rocky road and cherry plum sorbet.
that sounds delicious. It's in the freezer.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So this is the Aquarius new moon, and the call is live for members. I did need you to come and test how this setup's going to look. I've been trying to get it more mobile as we prepare to take this big leap. Would you come on camera with me, or would you sit beside me as I blur you out and ask you some
Sure.
questions? Wait, you want do you want your identity to remain? You want to come
Doesn't
on?
matter.
Do I have your consent?
Sure.
Okay, so this is how it works for our members. So whether they're in person or if they're calling in, I don't necessarily have them sit here. Don't stress out. It's literally just me. So you are now modeling what our members will feel like when they come on live. So before it was like a more small kind of intimate thing, and now it's like a little bit bigger, but only up to 4 Lunar Manifestations members will come on live. And they'll come on live using that link, kind of how you were on it earlier, helping me test out the podcast. Okay, so since I have your consent to welcome you on camera. Hey everybody, it is Autumn. Give me 1 second while I work with my tech to introduce you to my amazing husband. This is my husband Dan. I haven't really shared him much, but this is the guy behind all things Golden Otter. I was just talking about you on the podcast that I just did with Carlos, the medium, who's one of our friends, but also, I mean, he's a professional acquaintance.
Mm-hmm.
I would say friend in the sense that like we're friendly, but we're not like besties. He doesn't know a lot about us on like a personal level, but he's just a really great guy. And we were talking about our early experiences with mediumship and all that. The interview will be up later, hopefully tonight and or tomorrow. There's a raw cut going up on YouTube now. And honestly, it was just like a breath of fresh air, which is what the Aquarius new moon is all about. And this is my Aquarian who just had his birthday. So all of our 2 daughters and you are all Aquarius. So we're all born in a 3-week time span. Like my birthday is in January, then our youngest is 10 days later, then our oldest, and then you.
Mm-hmm.
And our youngest was due on my birthday, and our oldest was due on your birthday, which is like one of those little weird God winks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, this is his moon. He's an Aquarius, and I just wanted to have him on and share him with the world. I kind of let it be up to the universe who was going to come on tonight and be a part of this call. I sort of tricked him into coming over here and helping me set up my stage, hoping that he would let me come on. But it's just such perfect timing. 1, because you're an Aquarius, and 2, because we're about to like go through a big transition, and like there's just so much going on that the only thing that we really can do right now is breathe. But also because, as I was mentioning, I was just talking to Carlos about these early experiences, and I always go back to Carlos the medium about when we first met and how I felt like my soul could, for the first time ever, just take a deep breath. Do you remember what I said to you at the state fair? Mind you, we were like 21. I was 21 when we met. You were 22.
Mm-hmm.
We got engaged in 3 months, married in 6. 14 years later, we're still hanging tight. Did you remember what I said to you in the fair parking lot?
Yeah, you knew something was different because you just felt comfortable being around me.
Yeah. I felt like my soul could breathe. I felt like I could just be myself. I didn't have to be anybody specific. I could just be weird and all. Like, see, even around you, I'm like, and I've always said that like I used to have to take anxieties because I used to get so nervous. And then I was sharing with Carlos on the podcast that I would self-medicate with like alcohol and then prescription medications prescribed by doctors because I would get so anxious. And early in our marriage, I would describe you as human Xanax. And I would say that to people and they're like, what? And I'm like, he just calms me down. He's like, he's my anti-anxiety. I can just breathe and I can just be around you. And I think we are entering into like a global age of Aquarius, which is like a water-bearing sign. It's a fluid sign. And the energy is changing from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age. And I don't know. It's just very apropos that like when I met you, it's a very Aquarius energy where I felt like I could just breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And coincidentally, so the Aquarius new moon ritual it's a breath work tradition taken from a Kundalini practice. And actually, when I wrote it, we had just gotten back from Tony Robbins, which I convinced my husband to come to Tony Robbins with me. We did a fire walk and everything. We had a good time. It was like a good time. But it kind of like drug you there, and then you ended up having a good time. But they had us do like this like breathing exercise where we would like remember you'd like stand and you activate, and I'm like, oh, this is like a Kundalini practice where you're activating state through breath work. And then we have two aspects to this. There's one that you can do like the full thing where you're like standing and breathing and like really moving energy, which I see you doing all the time, like especially when you work out, whether or not that's your intention or not. I know you're into this stuff, but not always your intention. It just happens, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have like a more discreet breathing activity that you can do in public, right? Where you're like breathing in and out. And I wrote this ritual 2-3 years ago. And the irony is, I was just approving rituals, and there was like a plank in one of them where we were doing the cartoons for it. So it's like everything happens for a reason. And I was recently like out at the edge of a jetty that was washed away on our safari, and like a warthog had me pinned, and it was just so weird, like life imitating art, imitating life. But to get back to this, if you've watched the Aquarius new moon cartoon that we just put out, which is the Otter Tunes, there is a scene in it where I'm like, have you ever had one of those moments where a missent email or a stray look from a stranger can like put you into a state of panic? And I made a little bit of a gaffe on our safari. Do you want to tell a story? You want me to?
Go for it.
So on his birthday, I walked out and I recorded a private video for just the two of us to share with him later, like 10 years from now, or just for our girls to see. I've been doing a lot of like documenting our life so that not even just for right now, just for posterity's sake, just so that like, I saw a video of a friend who recently passed, and it was just such a beautiful moment of motherhood, and, that she had sent to her spouse to give to their children just in a random interaction. And it made me think like, wow, some of these moments are all we will have when we're gone. And when we are really gone, it's all our children will have. And in this digital world, like we can document so many amazing things, but we can also use that to play pranks on our spouse. So I came out, it's like 6 a.m. We're on safari, and all night we've been hearing like, boof, doof, boof, doof, like all this. Just want to make sure I'm actually recording this. And I haven't tricked you here for no reason, made you so uncomfortable. And I hear him out like exhaling into alignment and getting into state, doing his like workout, and he's like flopping around on the front patio. So I get up and I come out and I go, spotted on the African safari is a rare and elusive Caucasian male. And I'm just being totally funny, and it's just for our private viewing. And he's in these shorts called Ranger panties, which if anybody's a military spouse or you know what that is, it's like these teeny tiny shorts that, why do they give you those? I still don't understand.
Multi-purpose shorts.
Multi-purpose, teeny tiny bikini shorts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like basically like a Speedo that they call a short. And years ago, you got them for me when you went through Ranger school. And I was supposed to wear them, but then through pregnancies and life, I could wear them now, but I gave them back to you. And now I could wear them again, but I don't know if I want them back. So the Ranger panties he got for me, with no intention of ever wearing them, I re-gifted back to you, and you were wearing these. And so I said, spotted on the African safari. It's a rare and elusive Caucasian male, just being totally joke funny. And I said, age, mind you, this is his birthday, so this is how I treat my husband on his birthday. I go, age appears to be approximately 36, as judged by the confidence in these Ranger panties. And Google Ranger panties, and you'll know what I'm talking about. I do a close-up. It's pretty inappropriate, but it was just supposed to be something for the two of us. You took it in stride. You thought it was funny. You looked about like you look now, uncomfortable, but also knowing that you are married to me. And that was it, right? And I was like, I love you, happy birthday, that's it. And then immediately after that video, I started recording an email for an old boss of mine who, before we moved to DC, I was working in like government contracting work, and I was like doing an education thing. I was building a curriculum, just a really great guy. And I used to have to send these weekly reports on just like what I was up to. And when I first came to Africa, I was doing like these kind of monthly reports as a joke, like whatever. And one of the things as I was transitioning out of that position and to Africa was this discussion on anthrax hippos, because there was like a thing about hippos being infected with anthrax in Malawi, and they couldn't figure out how to get rid of the hippos. So they were like pinning them to the side of the river with like spears and letting crocodiles eat it. And the joke had become like it was like an SAT question. Like, how do you get rid of like a certain not like a set number of 40 anthrax infected hippos are floating down river, not knowing if they're going to infect a fishing population or the drinking water of a nearby village. You have these choices, like A, bury the hippos, B, secure them to the side, C, let the crocodiles eat them. Like ABC, do all of them. And they didn't have the equipment to bury all these hippos, so that's what they did. They just they speared them to the side of the river and they let the crocodiles eat it. And it's like, okay, cool. Sounds like a great option. But then it's like the next SAT question is like, 100 crocodiles are now loose in this river, infected with anthrax. Like, how do you prevent them from getting villagers? Anyways, it was just this joke. So as my final field report to my old boss, I go out there and I was like, "Hey, Doug, it's autumn," and I'm just recording the Shire, really, like the river, and I'm like, "I'm in Africa. It took us 2 years to get to the river, but my final weekly report is no anthrax hippos." I was like, "Here's a warthog," which is ironic that then I was later nearly charged off a pier by a sleeping warthog, and my husband came to the rescue. It was pretty hairy, like, not gonna lie. But then it's like art imitating life, imitating art. I was like, I'm never making otter cartoons again that have any kind of like my character doing anything precarious. Like, I'm only going to be doing awesome things because I do not want to be in that like walking the plank again. That's on my Instagram if anyone wants to see it. I think it's called like, "But Can You Outrun a Warthog?" Which I lost 40 pounds this year. And at one point I'm like, "Dan, I have to outrun a fuck warthog right now." Like, I couldn't even believe it. So all of that is neither here nor there. I make this video for my boss, and all I send him is weekly field report, no anthrax hippos, and then a video that I think is this 2-minute video that I've made just for my old boss, totally appropriate, just recording the river. I get an email back the next day as we've come back to town. I'm like getting the girls ready for bed, and I open it up, and it's all it says like, "Your Caucasian male has every reason to be confident." Damn. And like a sign face and a joke. And I know my old boss well enough, but at the same time, I'm like, my stomach dropped, and I was like, because I knew exactly, which had meant I somehow had clicked the first video I had taken that morning and not the second one. And that's what I get for sending videos while on safari. My stomach dropped, and I was like, oh my gosh, this could be so bad. Like, it could be sexual harassment. Like, it's not that graphic, but like, even still, you never know how people are going to receive things, especially since it's like supposed to be a private thing between us. And then also like, I didn't know how you were going to take it when you found out like, oh my gosh, I just made this huge gaffe. And I had no choice but to laugh and be like, at least he thought that was funny, and just like count that blessing, and then come out and do a mea culpa to you, considering I had already, like, you didn't even want me to take the initial video. And I was like, "Don't worry, babe, this is just for us." Because half the time you don't know if like I'm going to be sharing stuff, which I try to be pretty transparent about that and say like, this is just for us unless I had your consent to post, which at some point I'm going to post you in Ranger Panties. Like, maybe it'll be 10 years from now and you're totally like, you don't care. Anyways, but I keep saying like, maybe he'll go viral for us, but maybe. I'd click on that video many hundred times to watch it over and over.
Throwback video.
10 years from now, we'll do the 10-year challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do it. But anyways, I just had to like breathe and trust that everybody like was going to receive that in a way that it was meant to be, which was a joke for you, and then a total gaffe and total error, a missent email. And I wrote back and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so mortified. Like, this is the video. Which, can you even imagine being somebody's former boss and like, no anthrax hippos, and you open it and instead of something like that, it's like a private home video, right? Thankfully, it wasn't anything else. But all that to say, the Aquarius new moon ritual is really great for those moments when like a missent email or a stray look from somebody could take you down one path, when if you give yourself a second to just breathe and relax, can maybe put you into a better state of alignment and receiving. That's all I wanted to share. Before we go, I wanted to just remind everybody to plant your intentions. So I'm going to show you what this looks like for members. So he gets to see the behinds and in front. We've got like a pretty good setup, right? This is trial and error over the process of like 2 years. and then I'll upload this so just our members can see it. Hopefully by now you're in Thinkific, where you're watching this is going to be the first replay link I paste in there. So you can see it. And then if you come on live, what we would see is, I might have you go in the other room and have you come on live so that people can see. Or you could just watch the Carlos the Medium podcast episode or YouTube that we just put up, where you'll see his name and information. But something really fun that we're going to start doing, we tested this out early with some beta members, is the Foursquare. Do you know how we plant our intentions, sir, at the new moon? Do you know the difference between a new moon and full moon?
Yes.
3 years later, I've been talking about these moons for a minute. What's the difference?
Talking about the intentions that you do,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
just the
Like what happens at a new moon versus what happens at a full moon? Just broadly.
The new moon, you're starting a new one, right? And then the full moon, you're like looking back to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job. So at the new moon, we plant our intentions when the sky is dark. And at the full moon, we harvest our manifestations. So it's like when the fruits of whatever we've planted come to fruition. And the moon works in a 28 to 32 day cycle, much like a female menstrual cycle, where you, like with the new moon is when it's dark, and the full moon is when it's full in the sky. So you plant when the moon is dark, and you harvest when the moon is full, because it's like the full moon illuminates your path, and now is the time to kind of like weed, like what is for me, what is not for me, and harvest and enjoy whatever your intentions are. And so on a monthly cycle, every 28 to 32 days, the moon moves from new to full to new again. Again, just like a biological woman's menstrual cycles. You go from, what's that called? When you can get pregnant. Pop quiz. Fertile, or like when you're ovulating, to when you're bleeding, and you can't, kind of, I mean, you can, because everyone is different, but generally women don't get pregnant when they're bleeding. And anyways, it's just an interesting way to track. But the other way that we can track the moon is in 6-month cycles. So the Aquarius new moon is now, it's February 11th, 2021, and there will be a Aquarius full moon. And I actually think there's 2 full moons this year. I've got to double check my calendar, but I think there's actually 2 Aquarius full moons, which is really exciting, because when we have 2 full moons in a given cycle, like in a given Gregorian calendar year, Gregorian meaning like 12 months, it's like the universe is doubling down. It's like a bonus moon, and it'll be this summer, actually, like right around when we're doing that trip we were just talking about, if it happens, which is kind of fun. And it actually happens twice, in July and August. It's because it'll be February to March, April, May, June, July, August. So it's like around that time. I've got to double check, but I'm pretty sure it's an Aquarius full moon. In which case, that'd be really exciting.
Yeah.
What else? You harvest under the full moon, plant under the new moon. Let's plant our intentions really quick. We don't have to plant them right now, but I just want to show folks how this works. So, boom. Remember, your Foursquare of life, you want to plant with I am affirmative language. So like I am, and then you state your intention. And the quadrants, like the Foursquare of life, which is taken from Florence Scovel Shinn, who is an early 20th century metaphysician. And she wrote the book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, as well as Your Word is Your Wand, and just like a lot of really great books. But she talks about life being a game, and it's all about learning how to play it. She talks about this Foursquare, which is expressing your health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. So health is just like your general physical health, mental health, emotional health, and well-being. Wealth is your abundance, how you generate life-sustaining energy to flow through you, because as we've discussed, I don't really believe in money, like even though I get caught up in this human illusion about it. Money is just a currency that we exchange, and truly what we're exchanging is our energy or our life force, right? So it's like, why would you work in a job that you dislike? Because you're like exchanging your energy for it. And even though we're not totally like confirmed on how this reincarnation stuff works quite yet, there is something to this being a time-space reality where it's finite, right? And how we endeavor within it is like time is our currency. And so it's how you're spending your time, right? So like your wealth could be your time. And in our life, time does seem to be the most important currency, and how we can get more of it, bend it, utilize it to our advantage, right? But wealth could also just be like your financial situation. Love is just obvi, whether it's a soulmate or a twin flame or a bestie or a pet or a child, anyone or anything, or a hobby, right? It could be like finding something that you really love and lights you up, finding ways to give and receive love. Maybe at some point I'll have Major Daniel Seibel come on and talk about heart math, or Adrian, our a Great Day Academics founder and Lunar Manifestations member, talk about how our hearts are these like magnetic. You explain it. Like, how does our heart work for giving and receiving messages, or like energy?
Yeah, I guess there's, just studying heart math, there's just the magnetic fields that come from different moods and how that can have an effect on other people around you, and how their fields can also have effects on what you're perceiving, what you're feeling at any given time.
So it's like the idea that like what you put out, you receive back. And there is like an actual energetics to it. And like I think of love like a magnet, where I think of wealth and abundance is like a currency that like is given in exchange. I think of love as a magnet that we either like repel or attract things based on our own frequencies. And then perfect self expression is how you show up in this world. Like, what is your divine soul's expression? What lights you up? What makes you happy? What is that weird? What do they say? Work your quirk, or like the riches are in the niches, I think, or niches. What is that thing that you really love to do? So, like, we are about to go on a new adventure as a family for my husband's next position, and we're getting a little tiny bit of a curveball, an expected, an anticipated possible curveball. But the thing that we originally thought we were going to be doing was like something that lights you up and that excites you and that is your natural curiosity. And to get it to kind of align with your career would have been cool. But at the same time, it's like, okay, maybe that just stays your perfect self expression.
Yeah.
Over. Okay. We're like, always keep the mystery alive. And then something else while you're planting your intentions. If you've been doing this for a minute and maybe health, wealth, love, and perfect self expression aren't resonating with you anymore, you can also use the words ease, flow, connection, and expansion. I like to use those ones to kind of like give myself a like a 6 month kind of. Sometimes I'll plant health, wealth, love, and perfect self expression in like a 2 week thing when I need more tangible things to happen, like trying to get a first class upgrade on this like on this flight that we're about to take. I'm like, that is in my wealth, that is in my whatever quadrant. But that's something that I kind of need to happen in a tangible sense in the next 2 weeks. So I plant in more concrete terms that the universe can like hear and understand, and very like placing your order at a restaurant is what they say in the manifesting or law of attraction world. Like, I would like the sweet potato fries with a little bit of garlic salt. Thank you. You just assume that it's coming back, right? And so that's how I consider planting intentions in like a 2 week cycle, where it's like, it's kind of like a 2 week thing. I need this to sort of pop before the full moon in 2 weeks. And then the other corresponding full moon in 6 months would be when I would use like ease, flow, connection, and expansion, because it's kind of like broader concepts, right? That like I need universal co-creation, like we're getting a new house, and we're enrolling our kids in new schools, and like all these things that we have tangible things. Like in the next 2 weeks, we will hear whether or not we got into this school or that school. But then like the broader picture of how that will unfold is where I would plant that like broader category of whatever environment our kids are in. It's conducive to their learning and self-exploration, and it's a supportive, you know what I mean? Like it's like a more intangible. What do you call that? Like the intangible. Were we just listening to something like the intangible something? I'm thinking of the entangled mind.
Yeah.
All right, the guards are out there changing shifts. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Before I sign out, I just want to say thank you so much for all of your love and support, as just always for me and everything that I do. I was supposed to, for a brief second, I had said to my business integrator, Kristen, I said, hey, you know what we should do for Valentine's Day? We should do a what it's like to be married to a medium. Ask my husband anything, like half kidding and then half serious. And she's like, do you really want me to put it together? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then we just ran out of bandwidth and we're moving. And I was like,
Yeah.
I cannot possibly co-opt you like to do that. And now here we are. It happens to be Valentine's Day. We were waiting for members to call in. Got you to sit here and test lighting. And now, I don't know. What's it like being married to a medium?
It's complicated but fun.
It's complicated. I know. I can only imagine. I live in this body and this mind, and keeping it corralled all the time is not easy. So, like, having the patience and the, compassion and the understanding to, like, see the good when it is not good and when it's a struggle and when it's like, why am I doing this? Why am I compelled? And, you see you see it all,
Mm-hmm.
the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups, the downs. But one thing is, like, you've always encouraged me to keep exploring my spiritual gifts. I don't know if I've ever shared it on here, but like, I was a Christian growing up. Obviously, I went to church and I did the whole thing, but there were always like pieces of it that never made sense. And it was after Everly, our second, was born that. Do you remember me saying this to you? Like, I came out of the shower one day. I was like, Dan, I know God now. And you were like, what? And I was like, no, like, I know God now. Oh, that's cool. Like, it's such a weird thing to say, but to always tangentially kind of know the experience and to see other people having it and being like, that would be great. But that hasn't been revealed to me yet on my journey. And then it was only after our second child that, like, and like a spiritual awakening and you really encouraging me to explore my spiritual gifts and start Golden Otter and just step out in faith, that like I had that in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's such a gift that, you know, I can't imagine I don't know, I can't imagine not having that, and it wouldn't be without you, at least in this lifetime. Well, I appreciate it. And all of this is because of you. I mean, you've always encouraged me.
About that.
Well, no, but I mean, it wouldn't exist if I didn't have your love and support in such an unconditional way. Because I get that question all the time, like, what does your husband think? Especially early on when I was like trying to keep you hidden and keep like what we do in our day job, like our day life and our day jobs separate from Golden Otter. And I think people thought that the more I hid you, the more you didn't support me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was never that. It was just like, I didn't know how to do this and keep us all safe in the event that as I was doing this, things went wrong. And like, by sharing my spiritual gifts, I wasn't compromising us. But like you always said, like you said to me one time, become the thing that you fear in the night. Because I was like, how are you not scared when you go out and do these things? Like, just in general, being in the military deployments and all that. You said, you got to become the thing that you fear in the night. And I was like, that is a murderous thing to say. It's a weird thing to say, but true.
Yeah, not in a bad
No, no,
way. But
yeah, but it's a way of
about like overcoming whatever fear you have in places or
Yeah.
times where you're uncertain.
Exactly. And this was a big fear for me, speaking out, talking about this thing, talking about these things, saying things and staying in integrity and always being able to like come back to my core message and my core beliefs and like putting it out there that anybody can develop their spiritual gifts and everybody has unique talents. It's just about exploring what those are. And not letting like ego get in the way. And I guess now is the time. Like, I thought it would be 2 years ago that all this would happen, but everything like unfolds in natural timing. And for us to be able to sit here like on camera and do this kind of spontaneously for you, which I seriously wasn't planning this tonight, honey. Like, this just happened. Like, the link went out to members, but we're doing kind of like a new way of doing this, and so it just sometimes takes a little bit for everything to come together. But I love you, and I appreciate you always supporting me.
Love you.
Even you like it? It's pretty fancy, right?
Yeah, it's nice.
Like a pretty fancy setup. Now, wherever we land, like, it's taking the energy of what we've built in this house to wherever we go next. Thanks for your support. I love you.
Love you.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us for our Aquarius new moon. Thank you for my husband coming on, letting me share how I embarrass him. I keep it interesting on the regular. Maybe at some point I'll have you back on so you can actually answer like some of the weird nitty gritty things about being married to me. Like when I tell you things and like some early on examples where maybe I would say something about someone or something. You'd be like, oh my gosh, this lady. And it wasn't until years later that you're like, maybe I should listen to her when she says these things. But also me setting aside my personal ego about how things unfold and me just saying like, hey, this is my take on it. Whatever happens, happens.
Mm.
I just like, I do this weird thing where I like, what do I call it when I tell you stuff? I like timestamp it. What do I say?
You know, which
Like
thing
when I have like a premonition or a thought or like, or a reading, or if something happens,
say, like, yeah, timestamp this.
timestamp it. Yeah,
Mm.
I will say to you like put the, like just remember that I said this today,
Mm.
and you'll be like okay. And like you over the years, you now ask me, and it's when I stop doing those things, like I did for a long time here because it was a little bit tough to do in Africa, just with the expediency of death here and just the expediency of life, like the quickening of our life. I wasn't doing it as much, and you were like, hey, maybe you should be doing this, maybe you should be doing this, and anyways, now when I do it, we pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that I have this external validation source just for me, because I can say something and I can be like, I don't know. Just can you put it down somewhere, like in your own memory bank, or I'll send it in an email to you. And then later when things happen, it's like a sanity check for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because this guy does not let me get away with anything. Literally nothing, which is why I'm so shocked I'm still here to tell the tale
Most
of
of the time.
what most of the time.
Most of the time, I don't let you get away with it.
You think that you let me get away with everything. Meanwhile, I think I
Not
don't get away with
everything.
anything.
Some things.
That's marriage. That's marriage, right?
Yeah,
All right, I love you.
love you.
Means you be my best friend, my soulmate, and my husband
You too.
in this. What would we say? In this incarnation, in this lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
this time space reality.
Mm-hmm.
We'll meet again, though, right?
Yeah.
Promise.
Yeah.
I'm getting it on camera, so that when we're like living another like a past life, you'll come through like we just saw on what was that show?
Which one?
The
Surviving
Netflix.
Death?
Oh, and Surviving Ducks,
Yeah.
with these like kids who come through with like past life incarnations.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna come through and be like, I was married to this woman. I see a beaver and a crystal ball and very, very large breasts. I love you. Mwah. All right. Thank you. I keep looking down here. Thank you so much for joining us for the Aquarius new moon and letting us share this chapter of our life. This time, next moon, full moon, I'll be tuning in from a different time space reality on this planet we call Earth. Thanks. Bye, light workers. Have a great new moon. Finish.